The Special Provisions Bill for registration of voters has been passed in Parliament. A United National Party Provincial Council member says that if the leader of the United National Party comes to power, it will be the end of democracy. Sluice gates of several reservoirs have been opened due to heavy rain. The Northwestern Provincial Council member, alleged of making a teacher to kneel down, has resigned from his post. The President has instructed to implement a mosquito control week in all government institutions. Over 70 people have died in India due to unfavorable weather conditions.
Now for a look at those and other stories in detail. President Mahinda Rajapaksa visited Parliament today to attend the advisory committee meetings of the Finance and Defence Ministries. Subsequently, he attended the chambers of Parliament as well. The opposition leader Ranil Wickremesinghe questioned in Parliament today about the damages caused due to the unfavourable weather conditions recently. Minister of Fisheries Rajith Senaratne responded to his questions. Opposition leader Ranil Wickremesinghe said that a group of fishermen who went out to sea during the unfavourable weather conditions have lost their lives. He said as per reports received by them, 51 persons have died, 17 are missing and 37 boats are also missing. He said that he is requesting the government to make a complete statement about the incident and about the future steps to be taken. Minister Rajith Senaratne said that as the opposition leader mentioned, 17 persons were not missing, but only 8. Also, the opposition leader said that 37 boats were missing. The minister said that there are 84 boats that have been completely destroyed or missing. The minister pointed out that it is not possible to give a complete pre-warning, and it is being seen very often that in the United States, despite being a well-developed country, similar things happen. Despite their development, even they are unable to prevent this kind of unexpected climatic disasters. The minister said that the opposition leader also mentioned that the government has not done anything to help the victimized people. He said that the government has taken all measures to help the victimized families and further assistance will be given in the future as well. He also said that all steps will be taken to minimize fatalities in the future. Meanwhile, the special provision draft bill relating to the registration of voters was passed in Parliament today. The revisions for this bill has been included for re-registration of northern voters. The debate on the draft bill was held in Parliament on the 6th of last month. Since the opposition made a request that they need time to reconsider the bill, the Speaker agreed to postpone the voting on the bill. When the Parliament resumed sitting today, certain revisions were introduced to the draft bill and subsequently the bill was passed unanimously. A draft bill for the revision of the 21st Constitution was also submitted to Parliament today. This draft bill was submitted as a private member's bill by the Gampaha District Parliamentarian, Venerable Athuraliya Ratanathero. The Venerable Thero said that the 13th Amendment to the Constitution is harmful for the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of Sri Lanka and it should be re-amended.
And moving on to more news at home, the Provincial Council members of the United National Party who had been expelled from the party say that if by any chance the United National Party leader acquires power, it will be the end of democracy. This was stated by the Provincial Council members Shiral Lankatilaka and Maitri Gunaratne addressing a media conference in Colombo today held to explain their disciplinary action that had been taken against them in another media conference. However, the General Secretary of the United National Party, Tissa Attanayake, said that the expelling of the provincial councillors was a decision taken by the working committee of the party. The media conference was held this morning at the Lanka National Estate Workers Union headquarters in Rajagiriya. The General Secretary of the United National Party, Tissa Attanayake, said that the disciplinary committee has presented a report to the working committee about a disciplinary investigation carried out against the party members who had attended the meeting held at Hyde Park on the 18th of October 2012, ignoring the ruling given by the party about this meeting. The investigations about parliamentarians Ashoka Abesinghe and Ranga Bandara are being carried out further, and 7 persons accused of this charge have been warned and they have been released with a grace period. 4 persons have been found guilty and it has been decided to expel them from the membership of the party. Mr. Attanayake said that at yesterday's working committee meeting, it approved the expulsion of membership of these members, and he said that it has also been decided to inform the Elections Commissioner about the expulsion of these members from the membership of the party. The United National Party decided to expel 10 provincial council members and other activists, including Shiral Lankatilaka and Maitri Gunaratna, on the basis of the incident relating to the attack carried out on the party headquarters. At the media conference held today, the provincial council member Shiral Lankatilaka expressed views in this connection. Western Provincial Council member Shiral Lankatilaka said that working committee decision was an illegal decision. The United National Party leader Ranil Wickremesinghe is attempting to show the society and the party membership that it is a political decision. He said that they observe it as a decision displaying the double standards of the United National Party at a time it requires democracy, and it states that an alternative society is required. Mr. Lankatilaka said that there is no impact at all on them about the decisions being taken by the United National Party, and if it is in this manner that the United National Party is attacking the people who show dissent, and if it is in this manner that they attack them, it really shows how they would carry out democracy when they come to power. The sluice gates of the Castlereagh Reservoir have been kept open for the 6th day due to heavy rains. The sluice gates were opened on the 12th of this month due to the increase of the water levels in the reservoir. The sluice gates of Mausakale and Canyon reservoirs have also been kept open. The irrigation department said that due to the opening of sluice gates, the water levels in the Kalaniya Ganga have increased. The Electricity Board informed that since the water levels of reservoirs connected to hydropower plants such as Vimala Surendra, Lakshapana, Navalakshapana, Canyon and Polpitiya have increased, electricity is being generated from these hydropower plants at the maximum possible level. The Victoria Reservoir has also reached spill level. The Mahaveli Authority informed that if the water levels increase further, the sluice gates will automatically open. The authorities therefore request the people to be vigilant. The hill country is still receiving heavy rains. This has impaired the life of the people. The police request the drivers to be careful in driving their vehicles as there is a foggy situation along with rain. And the Disaster Management Centre informs that although there were heavy rains today, there were no disasters reported.
The North-Western Provincial Council member Anand Sarath Kumar Gunawardena, who is alleged to have made a school teacher of Navagatte Gama to kneel down, has resigned from his membership. The resignation letter has been forwarded to the governor of the province. Special attention of the President was also focused on this matter. The President, speaking to the concerned teacher over the phone, has informed her that maximum punishment will be meted out to the relevant member. The General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Minister Maithripala Sirisena, announced yesterday that the party has decided to expel the member from the party immediately. It is the opinion of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party that making a teacher kneel down is an inhuman and despicable act. The General Secretary of the party announced that maximum action will be taken against the member. It has also been decided by the party not to allow him to contest in any future elections as a Sri Lanka Freedom Party member.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa paid his last respects to the late Attorney-at-Law Daya Pereira. The late Mr. Daya Pereira has also functioned as the Sri Lankan permanent representative in the United Nations. The late Mr. Daya Pereira is an old boy of Royal College, Colombo. He was also a Lieutenant Colonel in the Law Division of the Sri Lanka Army. He functioned as the High Commissioner of Sri Lanka in Canada since 2008. The President visited his residence at Tibrigasyaya today and paid his last respects to the late Mr. Pereira. He expresses deep sympathies to the family members of the late Mr. Daya Pereira. The funeral will take place tomorrow. We take a short break. We'll be back with more news. Don't go away. Yes, we move on to more news at home. A special project is being implemented to provide clean drinking water to the areas that are affected by renal disease. The National Water Supply and Drainage Board said that pure drinking water will be supplied to the people of these areas for drinking and cooking purposes. 11 bowsers for this purpose were presented to the National Water Supply Board by President Mahinda Rajapaksa. Patients subjected to renal diseases are found abundantly in the North Central and several other provinces. Research carried out on this matter has confirmed that the cause for this disease is the contamination of water in these areas with chemicals. And it has been found that the chemical products have been mixed with under the surface water, and there is a high percentage of fluorides in the water. Special attention of the government has been focused on controlling the disease under the new scheme. Clean drinking water supplied in bowsers will be provided to selected areas in Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa, Monoragala, Matale, Badulla, Ampara, Trincomalee, Mahayangana, Kurunegala and Vavuniya districts. The function relating to distribution of bowsers for this purpose was held at Palavatta in Battaramulla. Minister Dinesh Gunawardena and Deputy Minister Mrs. Nirupama Rajapaksha also attended the function.
When we purchase an item from the market, we are careful to verify about the price and the date of expiry of such items. However, do we check whether the currency notes we exchanged are forged or genuine? It is better to understand this rather than being unnecessarily punished. All countries in the world change the form of their currency notes and its security signs at least once in 5 years in order to prevent the circulation of forged currency notes. The criteria for currencies in circulation is considered as the number of forged currency notes in a million genuine notes. This measurement in Sri Lanka remains around 5. If it increases to more than 15, it becomes a serious situation. The circulation of forged currency notes has become a problem for Sri Lanka as well. Last year, the number of forged currency notes discovered by the central bank amounted to 4,500. There are many mechanisms of identifying forged currency notes which are embedded in the currency notes itself. Additional Superintendent of Money Circulation Department of the Central Bank, Tamara Vijayasuriya, said that the currency notes have been made from cotton. Therefore, it is different from the ordinary paper. When you touch it, you can feel the roughness in it. If it is exposed to light, a 3-dimension sign of a lion can be seen. The other security measure is the security code. If the currency note is shaken to different directions, the change of colors can be observed. She said that in the forged currency notes, the security code will not be available and the change of colors cannot be observed. She also pointed out that if someone is tendering a high-denomination note and attempting to purchase something of lesser value in a hurry, such persons should always be suspected of attempting to part with the forged note. If someone is to correctly find out the security signs, the currency notes should be clean. The central bank informs that circulation of forged currency notes is a severe threat to the economy of a country as well. Therefore, the central bank issued a circular in the month of April that the currency counting machines of all commercial banks should have the facility of identifying the forged currency notes. It is a punishable act under the Penal Code to print forged currency notes, aiding to do so, circulation of it, as well as keeping them in possession. The central bank informs that these acts are punishable with 20 years of imprisonment or fine or both. The police requests the people to surrender any suspicious currency note to the nearest police station immediately.
And Sri Lanka, while informing Germany about the current developments in the country, urged the German authorities to keep a close watch on the unlawful activities of the members of the Tamil Tiger terrorist group Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam LTTE in that country. Sri Lanka's External Affairs Minister Professor J.L. Paris recently held discussions with the German Minister of Foreign Affairs Guido Westerwelle in Berlin and apprised him of the current developments in Sri Lanka, as Germany is the largest source of grant and soft loan assistance from the European Union to Sri Lanka and a significant source of tourism. Professor Paris emphasized that conditions in Sri Lanka today are conducive to a significant expansion of trade and investment relations between the two countries. He briefed his German counterpart in detail about the implementation of the Lessons Learned and Reconciliation Commission recommendations and said that the country is entitled to the space and time to move forward with a homegrown program.
Steps have been taken to establish a combined railway and bus service in Colombo City. The objective of this measure is to minimize vehicle congestion and inconvenience being caused to the passengers. The new service, named Monorail, is being carried out in many developed countries. The railway line will be constructed over the roads parallel to the bus routes. More than 500,000 people arrive in Colombo daily. 240 trains and 18,000 buses enter Colombo on a daily basis. The new train bus service will connect 10 main bus and railway lines. Under this measure, the Colombo Fort Railway Station, the central bus stand and private bus stands in Bastin Mawatha and Gunasinghapura will be modernized. Construction work will start next year. The Secretary to the Ministry of Transport, Dhammika Pereira, addressing a media conference in Colombo today, said that the new project will be implemented to provide an efficient transport service. Secretary to the Ministry of Transport, Dhammika Pereira, said that the media carry out reports saying that at present the loss suffered by SLTB is 300 million. Some others say it is 800 million. He said that the SLTB issues about 2,000 million worth of season tickets to students. He said that the SLTB charges only 10% from the students. 55% of the fare is given by the Treasury and the SLTB shoulders the cost of the other 35%. He said that the school buses go empty to the villages in the morning to bring the students, and again it returns empty in the afternoons after dropping the students in the villages. Accordingly, the SLTB spent about 3,000 million rupees for social welfare work and said that no media institution is making any fair reports about these activities. The Deputy Minister of Transport, ru9 and the officials of the Railways Department and the Ministry of Transport attended the media conference.
And in other news at home, President Mahinda Rajapaksa has instructed to carry out a mosquito control week in all institutions of all ministries. It will be implemented from the 1st to the 7th of next month. The mosquito control week will be jointly implemented by the institutions coming under all ministries, including the Ministry of Education, Defence, Disaster Management, Mass Media and Information, Public Administration and Home Affairs and Transport, as well as local government and provincial council institutions. The President has also instructed the ministers that even after the stipulated week, these institutions should carry out the work at their convenience. 70% of the whole population is connected to the educational sector. Therefore, the President has instructed the Secretary to the Ministry of Health to carry out mosquito control programs covering the whole school network. Students as well as their parents will be made to participate in the mosquito control programs. The principals will be wholly responsible for implementing this program. The dengue mosquito can fly for a distance of about 500 meters. Therefore, all possible mosquito breeding areas at a distance of about 500 meters around the school should be destroyed. The assistance of the public health inspectors, some of the officers, Grama Niladaris, civil defence committees and environmental police units could be obtained for this purpose. The Ministry of Health said that coordination of these activities will become the responsibility of the principals of schools.
Mrs. Nilanka Senanaika has been crowned Mrs. Asia. The contest was held recently in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Mrs. Nilanka Senanaika arrived in Katanaika Airport yesterday evening. A group of people, including Mrs. Dr. Wasana Dantanarayana, who was the Sri Lanka National Director of Mrs. Asia contest, received her on arrival. Mrs. Senanaika is a 32-year-old professional beautician and a mother of 2. Contestants from 29 countries participated in this year's Mrs. Asia contest. 30 contestants participated in the final contest. Last year also, it was a Sri Lankan lady who was crowned Mrs. Asia. That was Mrs. Srimali Fonseca. She functioned as a judge in this year's contest. Foreign news is coming up next.
Welcome back. You're watching the news live on Channel I. We now move on to news overseas. The death toll from flooding and landslides triggered by heavy rain in northern India has risen to 70. At least 45 people have died in Uttarakhand state, while flood-related deaths have also been reported in Himachal Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. Over 150 buildings in Uttarakhand have been damaged and at least one building washed away. Some 30,000 pilgrims on their way to shrines in this region are stranded, and at least 15 people were killed in flood-related incidents in Uttar Pradesh after floods in Saharanpur district, state-run broadcaster Doordarshan reported. And in Himachal Pradesh, at least 10 people were killed in landslides in Kinnaur district, officials in Uttarakhand, the worst-hit state, said. Several people were missing and a number of vehicles and a stationary helicopter had been swept away by floods. 57 people were rescued by Air Force helicopters from different parts of the state. The authorities said that many people living near these swollen rivers have been moved to relief camps.
US President Barack Obama sparred with Russia's Vladimir Putin yesterday over how to end the war in Syria during an icy encounter at a G8 summit where divisions over the conflict eclipsed the rest of the agenda. Speaking after talks with Obama, Putin said Moscow and Washington had differing views over Syria, but agreed the bloodshed must stop and that the warring parties should be brought to the negotiating table. In their first face-to-face meeting in a year, Obama said the two men had different views on Syria but shared an interest in stopping violence and ensuring chemical weapons were not used. Both leaders looked tense and uncomfortable as they addressed reporters after about 2 hours of talks, with Putin staring mostly at the floor as he spoke about Syria and Obama only glancing occasionally at the Russian leader. Obama tried to lighten the mood at the end of their talks by discussing judo, but Putin, a black belt in the martial art, replied that the then smiling US president was simply trying to get him to relax. Divisions over Syria dominated the atmosphere as global leaders met in the remote golf resort in Northern Ireland, a place once rocked by decades of violence, but which Britain now wants to showcase as a model of conflict resolution.
We now move on to some news in brief from overseas. North Korea's chief nuclear envoy Kim Kye-gwan arrived in Beijing today to hold talks with Chinese officials. His visit comes 2 days after Pyongyang proposed high-level talks with Washington and ahead of a scheduled summit between China and South Korea in Beijing later this month. Thousands of Portuguese teachers marched in Lisbon on Saturday to protest against the new measures imposed by the government on the country's public education system. Besides the accepted cuts, the government intends to increase the teachers' working hours. Teachers say this will result in worse working conditions for those who stay and unemployment to those forced to leave. Thousands of demonstrators gathered in cities across Brazil to rally against what they see as poor public services, police violence and government corruption. The marches began earlier this month over an increase in bus and subway fares, but quickly gained support as police used heavy-handed tactics to quell the demonstrations.
Last week, police fired rubber bullets and tear gas in clashes that injured more than...
US and Cuban officials plan to meet this week to discuss the possibility of resuming direct mail services between the two countries after a 50-year ban, a report on Monday said. Diplomats and postal service representatives will hold talks today and tomorrow in Washington over the issue, despite stalled talks between the two countries on cases of suspected espionage. A China-made
of the ICC Champions Trophy cricket tournament. Sri Lanka achieved this by defeating the powerful Australians team by 20 runs. The match was played at Oval yesterday. The Australians winning the toss made Sri Lanka to bat first. Although Kusal Chanith started the innings with a 4 from the very first ball, he was dismissed in the third ball for covering the wicket. Sangakkara was out for 3 runs and Dilshan and Lahirutirimanne built up 60-run partnership for the third wicket. Dilshan was out with 34 runs. Lahirutirimanne took 58 runs for the fourth wicket. Mahalajawardene played a responsible innings and scored 84 runs. He exceeded 11,000 runs in one-day international cricket yesterday as the 8th cricketer in the world to exceed 11,000 runs. Sri Lanka scored a total of 253 runs for the loss of 8 wickets in their scheduled 50 overs. Mitchell Johnson took 3 wickets for 48 runs. The Sri Lankan bowlers made their best performances and dismissed all of the Australians for 233 runs in 42.3 overs. Nuwan Kulasekara took 3 wickets, Rangan Herath took 2 wickets, and Shaminda Ranga, Tilankarani Dilshan, Angelo Matthews and Lasid Malinga took 1 wicket each. The semi-finals between India and Sri Lanka will be played at Cardiff on the 28th of this month. The semi-finals between England and South Africa will be played tomorrow.
A quick look at the weather update now. The Met Department informs that intermittent rain could be experienced tomorrow in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and south provinces and in the districts of Puttalam and Kurunegala. There will be strong winds in the central hills and western low-lying areas.
And before we end the news, the headlines of the news you've been watching. The Special Provisions Bill for registration of voters has been passed in Parliament. A United Nations